When you're under a lot of pressure, you may get a headache, but you've never been in as much pressure as the Mariana Snailfish. Most things at the bottom of the ocean are invertebrates. They live the squishy life, but our friends the snailfish are bony, and they need some interesting genes to survive in the deepest parts of the ocean. It just goes to show that those who thrive under pressure are right for the job in life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter at LD Taxonomy, or visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons, Tristan Taylor, Jesse Raspolich, Carol Raspolich, Paul Chomo, and Richard Kaspar. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on.
And today we're talking about a hole in the bottom of the sea and things that live in it, but more on that later.
Do you think that the hole in the bottom of the sea is referring to the Challenger Deep?
It's gotta be.
That has to be the hole. That is the hole in the bottom of the sea. There is none other. But yeah, we are talking about the Mariana Snailfish.
Yeah, Marinara.
The Marinara Snailfish.
The Marinara Sailfish.
That sounds actually kind of tasty. Even though I don't really like
whitefish
or just fish in general.
You don't like tuna?
No. Wow. The closest thing would probably be like fried catfish or fried cod or something like that. But no, I do not. I definitely don't like tuna. But I don't like anything that really has that fishy flavor to it, and that includes salmon, which everyone who says they don't like fish but they like salmon and I should try it. I did try it and I was like, this tastes like fish, you big fat liar.
I've actually never had fish that has like the bad fishy taste that people talk about. I think people are eating too old fish.
You are not tasting hard enough. It's there, I promise. But anyway, we're talking about the Marinara Sailfish. The Mariana Snailfish, which is also known as the Mariana Hadal Snailfish or Hadal. I don't know.
That's the name of the zone it lives in.
Yes, or it was blessed by a sheik or whatever halal means.
Imam?
No, halal.
No, imam is like an Islamic priest, I think.
Is that how halal? Is that what happens with
that's
halal?
A person who leads prayers in a mosque. Actually, we don't know enough to speak.
Halal means permissible. Anyway, we're gonna call it the trench tadpole, the booger boogie boogaloo, and the deep sea floppy splat. I read that wrong. The deep sea. I don't know what a floppy squat is, but it wouldn't fit in my computer in the 90s, and it won't fit in my computer today. Yeah, let's taxonomize this before I say anything else embarrassing. The kingdom is one you know, love, and are in. The kingdom is Animalia. Phylum is Chordata. The class is Actinopterygii. We're talking about a fish again. You have not been doing a lot of mammals recently. You've broken free.
Lots of interesting things in the sea.
That's very true. The order is Scorpaniformes. The phylum is Leparidae. The genus is Pseudodolparis. Sorry, I can't. I actually have it in big letters here for my old person eyes. Pseudoliparus. There we go. Pseudoliparus, and the species is Soiree.
Soiree.
Soiree. So it's Pseudoliparus Soiree. That's it's a schnazzy party there. But since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show, critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question. Oh, sorry. It's nitty-gritty nomenclature this week. Of course, it's not critter groups. It's just fish school. They get degrees. Girls go to Jupiter for other reasons. But no, we're
the planet's rings.
Yeah, it's a study of the astronomy. But no, we're doing nitty-gritty nomenclature. So, Joe, what does Pseudoliparus soiree mean? Does it mean A, disingenuous bottom feeder, B, false mouth fish, C, fake fat lieutenant, or D, false color guard?
False color guard?
Yep.
False color guard, final answer.
You are incorrect. I think this is the first one you gotten incorrect in a while. I thought I handed this one to you. I was trying to mask it.
Was it the captain?
It is fake fat lieutenant.
Weird.
Now, this one's a little bit weird because soiree does not mean lieutenant. It is the name of a lieutenant that this was named after. But I thought that for sure that obviously pseudo is there, but like liparus, like lipid or liposuction, that you would have. I was like, dang it, he's gonna know it's fat. But I'm glad. I'm glad to see that I was able to deceive you. But yes, it's named. So soiree. It's named after the Herbert Soiree, who was the lieutenant of the submarine HMS Challenger, and he circumnavigated the globe in his submarine. And he actually apparently was the person to discover Challenger Deep.
So why did they call him fat and false?
They don't call him fat and false. They call the fish fat and false, or false. So, he has fake fat.
It's not really that. It's not really the general. This is a fish.
Yes, this is
general.
Right, or the lieutenant.
Or the lieutenant.
The fish has fake fat. The lieutenant, I imagine, had regular fat.
Gotcha.
I mean, he may have been of stalwart build, but you got to have some fat to really like be a person. So,
true.
I imagine that his was totally legit fat.
Mm-hmm.
Not like this.
Gotcha.
Not like this sneaky snailfish. But okay. Would you like to hear a description?
Sure.
Of this fish. So it looks like a loogie that somebody hacked up after drinking a bunch of milk. No further questions. Done. It's an albino tadpole with translucent skin, a bulging stomach, beady black eyes. Its tail is longer than the rest of its body, and it has 2 pectoral fins that help it navigate the ocean floor. It looks pretty different. Not at the bottom of the ocean, as lots of things that live down there, when you take them out of their pressurized habitat, tend to look a lot different. See our blobfish episode. But yeah, I mean, yeah, deflated or just oozed. But yeah, I mean, there really isn't that much else to say to it. Just imagine a big tadpole that is albino, and you've pretty much got this snailfish here. But
its lips and chin are dimpled. Their fins are serrated. Yeah. Also, it's like a tadpole with with very broad pectoral fins.
Yeah, when its fins are in, it looks like just a normal like a tadpole. But it has more like catfish almost characteristics when it's swimming around on the ocean floor. But it's this like large rotund body to thin long tail ratio that gives it the tadpole appearance. But I did say it was a big tadpole. How much bigger than a tadpole is it?
That brings us to the beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal sizes and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send out audio yourself saying, sticking or chatting the words Measure Up into ldtaxonomy.com. Stop. We don't have a new Measure Up intro this week, so that means we get to look back into the archives for our greatest hits.
Nice.
And I have no idea what this is going to be, but let's listen to it. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show.
Measure Up.
Oh, that's... It says historical recording of Carlos asking his son for help during a Measure Up segment. Was that a second one of the Masons the numbers? What do they mean?
I didn't hear any of that.
It's very, very
the Call of Duty.
Very far away, but that is Andrew.
Okay. It sounded like someone just turned on a microphone while they were standing at a ride at Disney World and then said Measure Up.
Well,
but thank you, Andrew.
Microwave sounds like you recorded it on a microwave. But thank you, Andrew. Send in more, Andrew. You still listening?
I think he is.
Okay, send him some more. Let's talk length. They're between 28.8 centimeters or 11.3 inches. How many Mariana snailfish go into the depth of the deepest submarine dive ever?
Oh.
Here's a hint. The dive was made in 2019 by Victor Vescovo. You can watch the dive on Discovery's documentary Deep Planet. Not a sponsor. It was not 2019. It's old news anyway. Vescovo was solo in a submersible that went into the Mariana Trench.
Oh, man. Can you imagine being alone and in the Mariana Trench? Goodness,
did you say you had whatever that that phobia?
Thalassophobia.
Thalassophobia.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm debilitated by it or I'm triggered or anything, but it's one of the last places in the universe I'd like to be, which is just in the open ocean. Swimming, like without any, like a boat or something like that. If I was in a boat on the open ocean, I'd be totally fine. But if I fell overboard, that's worst nightmare semario right there.
What about a submersible at the bottom of the ocean?
Like, when you watch movies or play games or anything like that, and you're putzing along underwater in a submersible, and then something like there's just this big dark shape out there, and then it comes into view, and even if it's just a big sunken ship or something like that's super creepy to me. Like, it's just like that's
submechanophobia.
It's also really cool and a great aesthetic, and I'm here for it, but like that that weird like large thing looming in the distance underwater is just a creepy vibe. So if I were in a submersible, I guess it's different if you're in the Mariana Trench because you can't see anything. You don't even know what's out there, and you couldn't see it, even if you wanted to. So you would just go from being fine and thinking that everything is okay to being instantly dead, and that's not so bad.
Well, in a submersible, you could shine a light and let the whole world see.
And just get this angle. There's an indie game called Iron Lung, which is this like you're in a submersible at the bottom of an ocean full of blood, and you can only see out of this little porthole, and crazy things happen.
Full of blood, you wouldn't be able to see out into anything.
It's like a special kind of spectrum camera or something like that allows you to see.
That can see through solid objects.
Blood is not a solid object.
Well, yeah, fair enough. Opaque objects, I meant to say.
Yeah, I mean, if you use sonar, you can see whatever you want, as long as it's not a solid object.
So how many fish?
Anyway, I imagine. So I was looking at the depth of where this fish lives, and Bibby and I were debating on like, has anyone actually been to the deepest point of the world, like the closest point to the Earth's core?
They haven't touched Challenger Deep at the bottom of it.
Or like, not only has anyone been there, but like, has James Cameron even sent one of his submarines down there?
James Cameron went where this guy Victor Vescovo went, but Victor went a little bit deeper. I think like 50 feet deeper.
Oh, really? He just was like, okay, this is where Jim went. Yeah. I just need to just do a little dip, and we're done. World Book of Records. This is why it would be so stressful to like be a world record holder and care about it, because you'd be like, man, someone just needs to do what I do and then just go a tiny bit further, and then I'm done for.
But you're still a record holder,
despite the fact that
you're still in the books.
Yeah, for that year or whatever. All right, so I'm gonna say this dive was 25,000 feet. And how long is this?
11.3 inches.
Wow, so it's basically a foot. So we're gonna go with 26,500 boogerfish.
Final answer?
Yes.
Correct answer is 38,069. The dive was 35,849 feet, or 10,000, nearly 11,000 meters.
That is incredible.
More than the height of Everest.
Wow, I didn't think that anybody could go that far.
Yeah, nice little sturdy submarine. You weren't too. What did you say? 25,000?
Well, because I was looking at the depth for this fish, and it said that due to the extreme pressure, 27,900 feet appears to be around the theoretical maximum depth possible for fish.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, like other life can live down there, but like it's bacteria and stuff like that.
Crabs.
Do crabs live down there?
We'll talk about it in my major fact a little bit.
But not at like 35,000 feet. They live at like 27,000 feet.
Well, this guy, Vescovo, saw Mariana Snailfish on his dive.
Yeah, it seems like he saw it like 2/3 of the way down there. Because it doesn't seem like they can live at the bottom at the end of his journey there.
Yeah.
But anyway, you can enlighten us more. and we're gonna
Well.
need some light because it's dark down there.
It's dank. Let's talk weight. Between 160 grams. I mean, they are 160 grams, and which is also 0.35 pounds. How many Mariana snailfish go into the largest bowl of spaghetti in weight?
What?
The largest.
Oh, because it's marinara snailfish. Oh my gosh.
Hint, here's that. The bowl was made by Buca de Beppo in Garden Grove, California in 2010. We're about due for another bowl, I think. It was 15 feet in diameter and 3.5 feet deep. So now you can calculate the volume.
Wait, how much diameter?
15 feet. Man, I would love to dig into some
Wow.
spaghetti.
Why does Buca de Beppo ring a bell?
It's a famous Italian food chain.
Is it? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever actually seen one.
I've never been to one, but they be around.
I also have to count for the weight of the bowl. It's probably a pretty darn heavy bowl.
I'm not sure if they factored that out.
Well, now it's all out the window.
It's almost as if nobody's asking tough questions at these events.
It's a world record. You got to ask some tough questions.
Or the reporting on these is not very exact.
And it's also an easy thing to determine. Just weigh
I would say
the bowl.
When you're talking about the largest bowl of spaghetti, you're counting the bowl. It's a bowl of spaghetti.
Yeah.
That's the unit.
Not otherwise you'd be this would be the largest amount of spaghetti that can fit in. This would be the amount of spaghetti that can fit in the largest bowl. All right, so I'm going to say this thing weighs 15 feet across. That is massive. I'm going to say this thing weighs 1,500 pounds. And that's probably just for the bowl. I don't imagine the spaghetti really adds all that much to it. So I guess we'll just keep it there.
You don't think the volume of the bowl adds much?
Well, it's like if you had if the bowl is made out of like ceramic or something like that, or like a dense pottery material.
It's hip deep spaghetti.
Yeah, but like noodles are they not only are the noodles themselves pretty not very dense, but also there's just tons of like empty space in between the noodles.
Noodles can be pretty dense. I guess there is empty space between the noodles.
We have these pottery bowls that my mom made when she was doing her pottery phase, and like they're pretty heavy, and when I add spaghetti to them, they don't get all that much heavier. So I'm kind of going by that. I'm imagining that the majority of the weight from this 15-foot bowl comes from the bowl, unless it's made out of like that super hyper carbon steel stuff that they make like spaceships out of. But whatever, we're going with 1,500 pounds. And this guy weighs about a third of a pound, so we're just going to multiply that by 3, which gives us to 4,500 fish go into the weight of this massive spaghetti bowl.
The correct answer is 39,000.
Yeah, there's no way it's 39.
Fish. The bowl was 13,786 pounds, or 6,253 kilograms.
Yeah, it really depends on what the bull is made out of. If it's made out of like plastic, that's one thing. If it's made out of stone, that's something else. It's made out of uranium-238, completely different ball game we're talking about here.
It could be made of plastic. I would imagine it's probably made of plastic. They didn't make a giant ceramic bowl for this.
You sure?
Yeah, I doubt it.
I kind of want to see this thing. Largest bowl of spaghetti. I'm going to be put on some sort of watch list for this.
What kind of people who love Italian food too much?
You know that the FBI monitors this stuff.
It's the third picture on Google Image. If you
this like bathtub,
yeah, looks like even some sort of plastic. Yeah, it might be a pool. It might be.
It looks like a pool. It does look like an above ground pool. So it looks like it's kind of this plastic. Like it's also wrapped in paper. I want spaghetti so bad right now. This looks delicious. All right, we got to stop talking about this, otherwise I'm gonna...
know. I want pasta in my gullet.
All right, so I was very wrong on both accounts. Didn't even get a nursing school victory.
Picture of a guy like emptying like a bucket of marinara onto it, and it's not even wetting a third of it. You got any fast facts before we get into the marinara fact?
I've got some yummy fast facts. So this lives, as we mentioned, at the absolute bottom of the ocean. Lives in the Hadal zone or the Hadal zone of the Mariana Trench, which is a large scar in the Pacific Ocean. I think is about 1,500 miles long, and it is known to be the deepest portion of the Earth's crust. And at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is Challenger Deep, the hole in the bottom of the sea. And that would be considered the deepest point on Earth. Because the snailfish lives so far down there, very few of them have been caught. Definitely very few. None of them have been caught alive. But they don't come up in these trolling nets very much. The first one ever was caught in 2014, so that's relatively recent for a species. And the deepest one was caught at a depth of 26,135 feet, which they believe to be the record for the deepest fish catch ever. And the reason why that's disputed is because other fish have been caught in nets that went lower, but because it was an open face net, they weren't sure exactly when the fish entered the net, so they don't know when it was caught. The only other fish that we know that survives at this depth is also a snailfish. So that's pretty much it. That's the only fish that live down here are snailfish. Everything after this is just there be monsters. The fish part of the ocean that you know and love is over now. We things get freaky.
Just Cthulhu's from now on.
Yeah, it's nothing but Cthulhu's after this. And they subsist by eating crustaceans and shrimp that they find in the trench. So there is a thriving ecosystem down here in the dark. And that's all I got. I'll pass the rest of it over to the major fact.
Okay. I'm calling this one Good Under Pressure. Mariana snailfish are like you said, the deepest living species of fish that we've ever discovered. And like you said, it may be the maximum living depth for a fish. Any deeper, and a fish may not be a fish. It must be a Cthulhu, a kaiju.
It must be a
Godzilla.
Lovecraftian eldritch horror.
Maybe a shrimp.
One of those
Just those
things.
things. Yeah.
That's
So, yeah.
really the only options.
It lives between 850 meters?
I don't speak in meters. How many times do I have to tell you this?
26,000 to 28,000 feet.
Thank you. Yes, around there. That's what I said.
The bottom of the Marinara Trench is 36,201 feet. Where
That
pressure...
That is a Mount Everest. That is a cruising altitude for a 747.
Mm-hmm. We're at 36,000 feet. Where the pressure there is 16,000 psi. Do you know what your house, like around the ballpark of the psi that you experience on a daily basis, is?
I know it's 1 ATM. That's it. One atmosphere.
One cash machine.
Yes.
It's like 14 psi, give or take. I mean, people at different elevations will experience different psi, but like around 14. So that's quite a lot of pressure. It's more than 1,000 times more pressure. So yeah, that's a lot. So snailfish that live at these depths have some interesting adaptations to help with the high pressure situation. So snailfish that live in the deep sea, there's a ton of different snailfish, by the way, and they can live as deep as what we're talking about, or all the way up to tidal pools. Different kinds, a lot of little ones and big ones, and many different kinds. You can keep some in your aquarium, and they have like little suckers. They're like one of their sets of fins like is a modified sucker, and it can like stick to the sides of stuff. But snailfish that live at this deep tend to have larger eggs, and they lay fewer eggs at different times of the year, where snailfish at higher elevations, higher depths, or lower depths. What, lower?
I think elevations still works here.
Fair enough. They lay more eggs, but like fewer times in the year. I think once a year, like a typical fish would. And they're little eggs. So the unusually large eggs are like 9.4 millimeters or 0.37 inches. Same amount of pounds they are. Isn't that crazy?
0.37 or 3.5.
Yeah. In diameter. So we believe that larvae hatch and spend time in more shallow water, around 1,000 meters, and then come down when they reach maturity. So snailfish species that live among king crabs, sort of an aside, snailfish species that live among king crabs lay their eggs in king crab gills for protection. And I have no idea what the crabs get out of this.
It seems like it's just... it doesn't even seem like it's parasitic. It just...
sits.
Yeah, it's just like babysitting.
Is there a word for something that's like... It's not mutualism. It's like a symbiotic relationship where one person gets a benefit and the other person is neutral.
I'm sure there is, because this is not the only time that happens.
Person. They also have particular...
Hey, it happens in people world too.
True. They also have partially cartilaginous skeletons that are flexible. Now we're talking actinopterygii. That's bony fish. But they have semi-cartilaginous skeletons that are flexible and useful for life under immense pressure. So they found that
ossified.
Yeah. They found that there's a gene mutation that prevents the early calcification of their cartilage, which keeps them flexible and free of fractures under this crazy pressure. So another thing that this gene does is that it contributes to the fact that they have holes in their skulls that help compensate for pressure. So you and I and everything that has a skull on land has a closed skull. So this protects your brain and allows you to maintain constant intracranial pressure. It means the pressure in your head stays the same.
Keeps the fluid in there too.
Yeah, keeps it from leaking. So if you lived in the Mariana, like in the Mariana Trench with a Mariana Snailfish, the difference in pressure between your head and the ocean around you would crush your skull.
Yeah, that's a no-go.
Yeah,
you got to equalize.
So an open skull provides some structure and protection for fish brains, but it also allows their head pressure to equalize with their environment. So the gene that prevents cartilage calcification may be responsible for the irregular Swiss cheese skull in these fish. They're open-minded.
Swiss Cheese Skull is my favorite metal band. It's actually doomcore.
Yeah. But isn't that... I never thought like that. The solution to living at the bottom of the ocean is to have holes in your head.
Yeah, but it makes perfect sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
That you cannot have a separately pressurized container at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, wait.
Like,
but you totally can. I mean, if you do, then you have to. Then the material of the container needs to be
strong enough.
It's strong enough to withstand the pressure.
Like a submarine.
Yeah. But your skin and bones are not strong enough to withstand the pressure, so they need to be equalized and not be crushed.
Right. So they either need to be adamantium fish or they need to be Swiss cheesed. Now, if you drilled holes in your head and went to the bottom of the ocean and somehow kept the fluid from and all the stuff that you need in there, if you kept it in there, the pressure would still crush you. Like, it would still crush your lungs. It would crush your brain, probably. Like, everything would be crushed. That's what they're adapted. They're supposed to live down there. And if you take them up, they'll like explode. They'll expand. So that's also they have no scales. Their like skeleton is very like flexible. They're Gumbies, and the pressure holds their jelly bodies together.
A lot like the blobfish.
Yeah.
So if the blobfish the picture that we all know and love, if that's your standard, then going to the bottom of the ocean is like compresses that into a normal looking fish. But
what if you're like a blobby looking guy, you go to the bottom of the ocean and it turns out you're hot.
Yeah, you are just
you're Squidward when he's handsome Squidward.
You see your handsome Squidward. You just perfect jawline, barrel chest. You actually grow several feet, but then you're brought out of the Mariana Trench and you're like Ralphie May.
Poor guy. But that's all I got. So like the interesting thing is like not like the holes in their head and then like flexible skeleton aren't all you need to live at the bottom of the ocean, right? You need to be adapted in a million ways. But to be an actinopterygii, to be something that has a skeleton and live at the bottom of the ocean, then you need to pull a fast one on them. You need to have some Swiss cheese in your skull. You need to have a Gumby like skeleton.
Yeah. Why do the eggs need to be big?
I wasn't clear on that, but like, I guess larger. You'd think like smaller would have like less psi pressing it,
Yeah,
but I don't know. But they just found that like snailfish, the deeper they go, the bigger their eggs. And that's kind of weird for fish. For fish eggs to be the fish eggs, even like big fish lay really little eggs.
Yeah,
But these
lots
are
of
like
little eggs. These are like snakes.
a third of an inch big. So,
Yeah,
I know round objects are better when it comes to pressure.
Yeah, but fish eggs are round.
Yeah.
This would be weird in your calamari.
A big fish egg?
Just it's just.
You mean calamari? You
Wait,
mean,
wait. What am I thinking of?
Caviar?
Caviar. That's the thing. Calamari is squid. I don't know if it's obvious, but I don't eat either one. Apparently, caviar is very expensive. If Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan have taught me anything. Yeah. So that's the Mariana Snailfish. Is that all you got?
That's all I got.
All right. That's us traveling all the way down to the furthest reaches of the ocean. For you out there in Podcastia, get the jumbo-sized eggs. Don't be ashamed of having translucent skin. And don't complete your bone ossification if at all possible, like the Mariana Snailfish here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Looking back, I probably should have put something pithy in about surviving under pressure, but
We've made that joke before a lot. You know, they're deep sea animals.
yeah, I thought about like throwing something in there with the running with like, oh, he does like yoga or something to survive under pressure.
He listens to whale songs.
Or
He listens to sperm whale songs.
He listens to Cillian Murphy's Magic Train Ride.